Have you ever wondered if your iPhone videos look too clean? I mean, are we even doing this right? Because while the tech companies have us counting pixels and lusting after ever more detailed images, one of the most successful cinematographers of our age is deliberately putting garbage onto the lens to give it more character. In this realm of iPhone videography, we kind of find ourselves at a curious crossroads. The digital precision of these remarkable devices gives us pristine, clean images. Perhaps too clean. There's something almost antiseptic about the clinical sharpness of modern digital video. It lacks the texture and the imperfection and basically the humanity that makes cinema feel alive. A well-lit video that's been shot with an iPhone looks sharp and clear. The colors are vibrant, the details are crisp, and it all looks very polished. But sometimes this cleanliness can feel a bit sterile, like watching a simulation rather than something real and authentic. So why does this happen? Well, part of it is the technology itself. Modern smartphones like iPhones have amazing cameras that can capture a ton of detail. They're designed to produce high-quality video that looks great on our screens. But in doing so, they can also make the video look overly perfect. Think about it like this. When you're watching a movie or a documentary, you want to feel like you're experiencing something real. You want to feel like you're there in the moment. But if everything looks too perfect and too clean, it can feel like you're in some kind of computer-generated set. The problem with this is that it can make your videos feel less engaging, less human. Viewers might not connect with them as much because they don't feel authentic. And authenticity is key when it comes to storytelling. Now, I'm not saying that all digital video looks too clean. There are plenty of skilled filmmakers out there who know how to use technology to create videos that feel authentic and engaging. But for many of us, especially when we're just starting out, it can be tough to avoid that overly clean look. And to do that, we need to add imperfections. But wait a minute, aren't we striving for perfection? Now we want to add imperfections? At first, it might seem counterintuitive. So let me explain. And now they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here's 2,000 words worth. Now, which one of these two portraits is better? Well, it depends what you're using the picture for. If you need a picture for your LinkedIn profile, the one on the left is definitely the best quality. And this is where digital images excel because they're clear, they're clean, they're detailed, and they're accurate. Just what you need for your passport or driver's license. What about the picture on the right? Well, if Rembrandt ever needed an image for his passport, this is probably gonna fail. So this might not be the most accurate likeness, but what it says is so much more than just what Rembrandt used to look like. When Rembrandt painted himself, he decided to reveal every wrinkle and crease, and that's what makes this work of art feel more real and relatable than any perfectly polished image could. He used expert lighting to indicate the emotion felt by the subject, and great cinematography does the same. So what can we do to fix our iPhone videos and move them closer to works of art? Firstly, like Rembrandt, we need to paint with light. Very bright, direct light is great for clarity and detail, but it can also make your footage look flat. It's like taking a photo with the flash on. It's clear, but it lacks depth and it lacks character. To really paint with light, you need to control it. One of the best times to do this is during the golden hour, just before sunset. The light is soft, warm, and is magical. It adds a glow to your subjects and creates long shadows that add depth to your scene. Plus, it's just so visually appealing. It's like the whole world is bathed in a warm golden light. If you can't shoot during the golden hour, try moving out of direct sunlight. Find some shade under a tree or a canopy, and this is going to soften the light and reduce harsh shadows, making your footage look more nuanced and interesting. Shooting indoors, you can use curtains or blinds to filter the light. Because this soft, diffused look is perfect for portraits or for intimate scenes. You can adjust the curtains to control the amount of light coming in. and you can create a beautiful, moody atmosphere. Another trick is to use the light coming through windows to create interesting shadows and highlights. For instance, if you're shooting near a window with blinds, you can adjust the slats to create stripes of light and shadow on your subject's face. It's a simple way to add texture and visual interest to your footage. The key is to experiment and play with light, but don't be afraid to move around, adjust your position, or use objects to block or filter the light. And by doing so, you can create a look that's unique and engaging and that really tells a story with light. Cinematographers like Shane Helbert have used stockings as a diffusion tool to soften images and create a more intimate or maybe glamorous look. By stretching stockings over the lens, they could control the amount of diffusion based on how tightly the fabric was stretched. This method allowed for a unique aesthetic that was both subtle and powerful, enhancing the emotional impact of scenes without relying on digital effects. In the movie The Rat Pack, Helbert used stockings to create a sense of elegance and stage presence, capturing the characters as if they were always performing. The diffusion added a soft, dreamy quality to the footage, fitting perfectly with the film's narrative of iconic performers. When cinematographers mention glass, they're talking about the lenses they use. The choice of lens can completely change the look and feel of your footage. Many cinematographers are turning to vintage lenses to add some imperfections and character to their work. These old lenses, often from the 20th century, have quirks like soft focus, distinctive lens flares, and subtle color shifts that give footage a unique, nostalgic feel. One of my favorite ways to add character to my iPhone videos is to add an anamorphic conversion lens. An anamorphic lens stretches your image horizontally, giving you that beautiful widescreen cinematic aspect ratio. Aiming at light sources creates these horizontal lens flares, but it's a good idea not to go over the top with these. If we want to add character to our video, we should embrace the imperfections of the glass. Many companies sell their lenses on the clarity and the sharpness of the lens. What I'm interested in is the subtle softness around the edges of the frame, or even slight chromatic aberrations. You know, those little color fringes that pop up in high contrast areas. Because to me, these imperfections aren't flaws. They're actually part of the charm, and they give your video a personality that clean, unaltered smartphone footage, it just can't replicate. And it's not just anamorphic lenses. We can also use wide-angle and telephoto lenses to add character, as well as give ourselves more focal length options. The beauty of adding glass to your iPhone is that it opens up creative possibilities while giving your footage a distinct look. It's no longer just smartphone video. It becomes something with depth and with artistry. Here I'm going to use the Blackmagic camera app, and I'm going to set my frame rate to 24 frames per second, and I'm going to set my shutter speed to 180 degrees. Because motion blur also makes our video feel more organic, more natural and authentic. Then there's 4K resolution, Apple Log and ProRes 422, and finally I'm going to switch on the 1.33 times D-squeeze. iPhones add extra sharpness to video, which just makes them look even more digital. By using Apple Log, we can reduce a lot of that sharpness. Another thing that can help to take the edge of that sharpness is a mist filter, and these create a more organic, film-like quality. Light is diffused as it passes through tiny particles embedded in the glass. This scattering effect creates a soft glow around bright areas, making them less harsh, adding a dreamlike quality to the image. They soften skin tones, casting our subject in a more flattering light. Using a mist filter when shooting a street scene at dusk can enhance the glow of the streetlights, making them seem softer and more inviting. It's like capturing the essence of a city at night with all its mystique and its charm. Detting up the frame in filmmaking is all about intentionally adding elements in the foreground or blurring elements in the background to add depth, texture, and a sense of context to the image. and this creates a more immersive or realistic feel. Things like objects, props, or a character's shoulder or a head partially in the foreground. Natural elements like raindrops or dust on the lens obscure the view and add depth. Dirtying the frame helps establish a sense of realism. Rather than standing at a distance viewing a perfectly clear and composed image, we're asking the viewer to look past obstacles into a scene. This technique allows the viewer to feel part of the scene, like they're actually there. The dirty over-the-shoulder shot is taken over a character's shoulder, but where the character's shoulder is partially in the frame, and this creates a sense of depth and perspective. We can place a tree or a wall in the foreground to frame the subject and add depth. In some movies, filmmakers go as far as to allow things like dust, blood, or raindrops to actually land on the camera. Normally, we would consider this to be breaking the rules of cinematography, as this makes the viewer aware of the camera. And this is what we call breaking the fourth wall, like when a character in a movie talks directly to the audience. Yet this method of dirtying up the frame has been used in films like Saving Private Ryan and Children of Men. In several scenes of The Revenant, DiCaprio's breath is actually captured fogging up the lens. This effect was deliberately used to emphasize the themes of survival and the will to live, as noted in the film's use of breath as a symbol of life. This method is also used to create a sense of realism and immediacy, making the viewer again feel like they're experiencing the scene firsthand. A handheld camera is one of the most powerful ways cinematographers add character and authenticity to their scenes. Sometimes you watch a film and it feels so real, almost like you're right there in the moment. And that's often because the cinematographer chose to shoot handheld. Instead of mounting the camera on a tripod or a stabilizer, they're going to hold the camera in their hands, usually rested on their shoulder, and they're going to embrace all the natural movements and the shakes and imperfections that come with it. The action sequences in Paul Greengrass's Bourne films embrace the handheld technique for shaky, frenetic energy that puts you right in the middle of the chaos. And think about how Darren Aronofsky used handheld in Requiem for a Dream to create this sense of disorientation and unease that perfectly matches the character's experiences. What's fascinating is that handheld doesn't always mean chaotic. Emmanuel Lubezki, who shot The Revenant, often uses what I'd call controlled handheld. There's movement, but it's subtle and it's purposeful, adding just enough imperfection to feel authentic without becoming distracting. When it comes to your iPhone videos, handheld can be another useful tool for generating authenticity. When we're shooting a handheld shot, it's not just about standing there with the camera in our hands. Professional cinematographers will deliberately move the camera. Here, I'm just moving my body left and right to add this gentle rocking motion. If you've dirtied up the frame with some foreground, this rocking brings it to life. The scene is revealed in 3 dimensions. Foreground and background moving at different speeds. There's depth in the frame. There's organized disorder. It's breathing. This shot is alive. So the lesson here is that handheld work isn't about random shakiness. In movies, even the most chaotic looking camera work is totally intentional. And we need to remember that the best camera movement is always motivated by the story. Many filmmakers look to grading and effects to make their videos look cinematic. Fix it in post, as the old cliche goes. Have you noticed how much we've covered and how many techniques that we've talked about? And we've not once talked about LUTs or digital effects. As AI makes digital effects easier and easier to acquire, I suspect the authentic character that comes from what you capture in camera is actually going to become valued more, not less. But let's now turn our attention to the digital realm, where film emulation software can help bridge the gap between digital cleanliness and filmic character. In the alchemy of digital cinema, transforming the pristine pixels of our iPhone footage into something akin to celluloid's warmth is less about replication and more about evocation. We begin with the foundations, gently increasing contrast to mimic film's dynamic range. softening those harsh digital highlights and introducing a hint of grain that dances across the frame like memories of cinema past. Unlike digital noise, which represents incomplete information, grain is physical, it's tactile, again, it's alive, and it breathes and it moves. Then we delve deeper into the image's soul, warming the color temperature ever so slightly, desaturating to escape an iPhone's oversaturated tendencies, and finally wrapping our creation in the subtlest of vignettes, but not as a nostalgic affectation, rather as a gentle reminder of the mechanical imperfections that once made our moving images so beautifully, imperfectly human. Film emulation tools essentially match the color values of your digital footage to different film stocks. They transform your iPhone's clinical precision into something with more personality, remapping colors to appear as if they were captured on motion picture film. Apps like Super 16 and Kino make it very easy to add film emulation to your iPhone video. And these tools go beyond simple color adjustments. The best film emulation software also adds film grain, it adds halation effects, bloom, and even gate weave to simulate the mechanical imperfections of celluloid. While these digital solutions can't completely replace in-camera techniques, they offer a powerful complement to real-world methods. Consider the halation effect. That beautiful red-orange halo that appears near contrasting boundaries and overexposed areas in the film. It's not a flaw, it's a signature. It's a whisper from the physical world reminding us that light is wild and unruly. When light scatters within film emulsion and reflects off the film base, it creates this dreamy vintage aesthetic that digital perfection has kind of sanitized away. Adding halation to your iPhone footage introduces that organic quality, where bright areas gently bleed into their surroundings, softening the digital hardness. Gradual darkening around the edges of the frame isn't merely decorative, it's a subtle psychological direction, guiding the viewer's eye towards the center of your composition. It creates a natural frame within a frame, adding depth and dimension to what might otherwise be a flat digital image. Modern digital color is too perfect, too accurate. Film color has bias, personality, it has quirks. It might favor certain tones, it might struggle with others, creating this unique signature, and that becomes part of your storytelling. The way Fincher and Konji used bleach bypass in Seven to create higher contrast and reduced saturation wasn't merely aesthetic, it was narrative. It told us something about the world that these characters inhabited. And your iPhone videos can benefit from similar color decisions, moving away from accurate reproduction towards expressive interpretation. And next we have bloom, which is a beautiful diffusion of light, and this occurs due to imperfections in optical design. Unlike the perfect light handling of digital sensors, bloom on film creates a non-linear, natural glow around light sources. And bloom is particularly evident in scenes with strong contrast, a window viewed from a dimly lit room, a single light bulb in the darkness. And this effect doesn't merely make your footage prettier, it makes it more human, more connected to how our eyes actually experience light in the real world. The clinical cleanliness of digital video represents a kind of falsehood, a fakeness, a world without imperfection, without history, without beautiful accidents that make life interesting. By introducing these film characteristics to our iPhone videos, we're not simply imitating an old medium, we're reclaiming something essential about visual storytelling. The greatest filmmakers understand this. They know that perfect isn't always better, and they embrace the character that comes from imperfection, just like artists who lived 400 years ago. And so should we, as we point our iPhones at the world, seeking not just to capture it, but to interpret it, to feel it, to share our unique vision of it. Over on my Patreon page, we do have a lot of fun helping people go from beginner to advanced. And while I do have structured courses, what's really cool is that I'm able to give feedback. So If a particular issue pops up, I can either address it directly, or I can link them to a video lesson that I've created especially for members. I think we have pretty much all the most common issues covered now. But if something does arise that I haven't covered, then I'll usually just go and get that video done. And actually, I've been adding content to the Patreon page for several years now. So we've really built up an impressive resource, and it's all in one place for you. So that's it for this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.